The capture and execution of Saddam Hussein, a dark chapter in modern history. On December 13, 2003, Saddam Hussein, the notorious former dictator of Iraq, was finally captured after months of evading a relentless American-led pursuit. His downfall marked the end of an era defined by ruthless governance, devastating wars, and widespread human rights abuses. His eventual trial and execution would raise questions about justice, vengeance, and the limits of international law, leaving a grim legacy that still reverberates today. The reign of a tyrant. Saddam Hussein ruled Iraq with an iron fist from 1979 until his ousting in 2003 during the US-led invasion. His administration was often likened to a criminal enterprise, marked by brutality, corruption, and unbridled power. Saddam's tenure was a period of intense suffering for Iraqis and their neighbors. One of the darkest chapters of his rule was the Iran-Iraq War, 1980 to 1988, a conflict of staggering proportions that claimed up to 1.2 million lives. Saddam's forces unleashed chemical weapons, indiscriminately killing civilians and soldiers alike. He didn't reserve his cruelty for enemies abroad. Within Iraq, he committed heinous atrocities against his own people. The Anfal campaign against the Kurdish population in northern Iraq saw tens of thousands massacred, entire villages razed, and families wiped out in acts of genocide. Saddam's 1990 invasion of Kuwait further cemented his reputation as an aggressor. Though swiftly repelled by a US-led coalition in the Gulf War, his regime continued to terrorize Iraqis and was accused of supporting terrorism and seeking weapons of mass destruction. These suspicions, whether well-founded or not, fueled the controversial 2003 invasion that ultimately toppled him. The hunt for Saddam. Following the fall of Baghdad in April 2003, Saddam Hussein vanished, eluding coalition forces for months. American intelligence agencies embarked on a massive operation, codenamed Operation Red Dawn, to track him down. Soldiers and intelligence officers employed a methodical strategy, targeting low-level associates such as bodyguards, drivers, and family members in an effort to close in on Saddam's location. It was a painstaking process, fraught with dead ends and sporadic, taunting messages from the fugitive dictator urging his followers to resist the invaders. The breakthrough came in December 2003 when interrogations led to the capture of one of Saddam's trusted confidants. He divulged the whereabouts of a farm near Ad-Dor, a short distance from Saddam's birthplace of Tikrit. On December 13, approximately 600 soldiers from the USA Special Operations Task Force and the 4th Infantry Division descended on the location. Saddam was discovered hiding in a cramped, underground spider hole, its entrance camouflaged with dirt and debris. Disheveled and unkempt, the once feared dictator was pulled from his hiding spot, clutching a pistol and surrounded by $750,000 in cash. Despite being armed, Saddam offered no resistance, surrendering to the troops. The moment of his capture was immortalized in a controversial photograph showing an Iraqi-American interpreter punching Saddam, a cathartic act of vengeance for the atrocities committed against his family. Trial and turmoil. Saddam Hussein's trial began under the jurisdiction of the Iraqi Special Tribunal, established to prosecute key figures of his regime. From the outset, the proceedings were mired in controversy. Saddam denounced the court as illegitimate, portraying himself as a defiant symbol of Arab resistance against Western imperialism. He frequently disrupted the trial with fiery outbursts, accusing U.S. President George W. Bush of orchestrating the process to secure his re-election. The trial was plagued by violence and insecurity. Several of Saddam's defense attorneys were assassinated, forcing others to flee Iraq. Critics decried the trial as a farce, lacking the fairness and impartiality necessary to ensure true justice. Nevertheless, the tribunal convicted Saddam of crimes against humanity for his role in the Dujal massacre, where 148 Shiite Muslims were executed in retaliation for an assassination attempt on him. On November 5, 2006, Saddam was sentenced to death by hanging. His final appeal was rejected just weeks later, paving the way for his execution. The execution. In the early hours of December 30, 2006, Saddam Hussein was led to the gallows at a U.S. military base ominously named Camp Justice. His execution was a macabre spectacle, marked by chaos and vitriol. Masked executioners chanted sectarian slogans, hurling insults at the former dictator as he stood on the precipice of death. Saddam, ever defiant, recited verses from the Quran and declared his disdain for his captors. The moment of his death was captured on a smuggled mobile phone, with grainy footage showing his lifeless body swinging from the noose, his neck grotesquely twisted. The footage, widely circulated online, sparked outrage and condemnation, with many arguing that the manner of his execution violated international conventions and tarnished the semblance of justice. Saddam's body was flown to his hometown of Al-Awya under cover of darkness and hastily buried. His grave became a somber reminder of Iraq's turbulent history, a symbol of both the horrors of his reign and the controversial manner of his removal. Legacy of a dictator. Saddam Hussein's fall marked the end of a regime responsible for the deaths of an estimated 250,000 people. His capture, trial, and execution were meant to herald a new chapter for Iraq, yet they left a complex and polarizing legacy. Many Iraqis celebrated his death as justice served, while others saw it as a politically motivated act of vengeance. The trial's perceived flaws and the brutal nature of his execution have fueled debates about whether justice was truly achieved. For Iraq, the aftermath of Saddam's reign brought not peace but a different kind of suffering. Sectarian violence, insurgencies, and foreign interventions plunged the nation into chaos, leaving many to wonder whether the ousting of one tyrant merely paved the way for new forms of oppression. Ultimately, Saddam Hussein's story is one of power and its catastrophic abuse, a cautionary tale of what happens when unchecked ambition collides with the lives of millions. His legacy remains a dark stain on the history of Iraq, a country still grappling with the consequences of his rule and its violent end.
Thanks for watching. Please support our channel. Please like, comment, and subscribe. New videos are uploaded regularly.